Hey everyone, welcome to Consciousness Incorporated, where we incorporate business and consciousness. My host with me is,
Denise Kohnke.
and I'm Adam Vasquez, her glorious co-host. Um,
I
it's
do
going to
the
be
color.
exciting.
I do the color commentary. We were just talking about that. I'm a better color person.
That's right. That's right. Denise adds. So, for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome to Consciousness Incorporated. For those who are here very often, welcome back. And again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all you glorious souls. Man, it's going to be exciting topic today. We're going to talk about Sunday Scaries and what that means. But before we jump into today, Denise, why don't we recap what we talked about last week?
Last week, I re-listened to it the other day and I went, we solved every possible problem in the universe. I said that again. So I'm starting to think that is the purpose of this show, to solve all the problems in the universe. But we started with ecosystem development and what an ecosystem was for a business and how that mattered with regard to the kinds of values that you choose for your partners and to attract your customers. And that was all nice. And then we, true to form, it's supposed to happen. And then we diverted and we got talking about the agency business, which I hope you all found interesting. And we have so many more stories. We were just saying maybe we should devote a whole podcast to the agency business and how kind of screwed up it is, and the trickle down, frankly, to society.
Well, yeah, in the agency business is just what I've realized in our industry is a lot of people are scared. They're just scared of, and I mean scared, talking about Sunday Scaries, just scared of not being enough, not getting the work, not getting enough money to pay for tomorrow or what have you, and
body
not having
image,
enough clients. Sorry, Denise, go.
everything, all of it is manipulated somehow, some way by agencies.
Mm-hmm.
If you really think about it, and people
talk
about
what is it? What is it, Denise? Everything.
all
You
of
mean
the fear-based,
our perception of things? Yeah.
Our perception, our fears. We are jamming stuff, and have been for decades, down people's throats to vote for this person or change your body with a girdle to it's like you need to pump up your muscles and pump up your brain and prevagen yourself. I mean, that's what we do. We're agency people, and we carry that with us in our ethos. And there comes a point in time for every agency person to say, what did I do? Oh my God. I'm sitting on the front porch. I got oatmeal coming down my face. I'm rocking. I'm looking back at my life and I'm going, what did I do? Fortunately, I can do that without thinking about harm. I managed to come unscathed pretty much through the agency business, but the agency business is a contributor to the mental health of the country. And
major
we're going to
contributor.
talk about the context of mental health, not just Sunday Scaries going to work, like, oh my God, I got to go back to work. Like, we're going to just dissect that. And what does that mean about your job and your thought about yourself and your purpose and your flow? But also agencies manipulate the context and the context of crazy. And everybody's crazy right now. You need research for that.
Well, we're going through a major catalyst in a convergence right now. We've talked about it in other shows, and I think the point of the idea of Sunday Scaries in itself, and I would like to hear the definition of that, because I know what it is intuitively because I've experienced it in previous years, but I never heard it given a name like that. So it was kind of fascinated, but I knew it right away what it was.
Yeah.
So what are Sunday Scaries?
Well, according to the relatives, the people that I hung out with over the weekend, which happened to be uh, two of my children, the Sunday Scaries, because we were talking about, oh my God, it's Sunday night. We got to go to work tomorrow. And I wasn't saying that, but someone else was. And it's like, oh, do you really feel that way about your job? And it's like, Mom, that's the Sunday Scaries. It's a real thing. You party all weekend, you have fun, and then you go back to reality. And it's like, oh, reality is looming, which is the definition as I know it of Sunday Scaries, in that reality is looming. I can no longer be myself. I can no longer have fun. I got a job. So
And these are your family that has grown up with you.
yes.
So like, does anybody else have a chance? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm sure these teachings that we talk about, I'm sure you have these discussions, and
Oh
even,
goodness, yes. I mean,
and so
they have been they have been built to be resilient, strong. At least I think I built them this way, and their father, resilient, strong, purposeful people who are disciplined, and they all have, these are people who were tennis stars and pitchers on baseball teams who had the weight of the whole team on their shoulders to build confidence, and they were confident. And now I look at them and I go, how come you got the Sunday Scaries? You should be able to overcome that with what you have inside of you. But it is real. It is real. It extends beyond a job. And we have to remember that in context, because the world is screwed up and everybody's crazy. So what does that do to an individual? It just weakens their mental immune system, I think. So
yeah,
that's my theory.
no, I think it's a great point, because I think everybody has sat there on a Sunday night, if they have a job, or even in school, right? Oh, I got
Yes,
such a
yes.
big week ahead. I've got to deal with this. I got to do with this. I got to do with this. I had such a glorious weekend. Now that's over. Reality check. Now we got to go do this, right? And I always knew it was wrong, and I was always trying to find a way, but I didn't have someone quite articulated that way, and it's funny. I remember the switch I made with myself when I started betting on myself in my dreams was Fridays. Fridays to me was the end of the clock, meaning, oh, we ran out of time in one of my favorite games.
Oh,
And now I'm looking forward to Mondays, because now the game starts again and we can
yeah.
get things going.
That's a
And
super cool self-hypnosis trick.
but I genuinely felt that way. So I wasn't really
Mhm,
trying to have to sort of trick myself or subconsciously reprogram, but that all helps, of course. And we'll talk about what things we can do to overcome it. But
mhm.
it was, ironically, jumping into the fire is what, once I realized the fire really can't hurt you, is
Yeah.
when it start to become fulfilling. And the fire, what I'm referring to, is that fear, that 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 self-limiting belief that society has created around us, that says that you're better off working for somebody else, or working on not even working for somebody else, working on someone else's dream than other than your own. That is actually less risky than not working on your dream. And
Right.
what you realize is, once you start working on your dream, is and you get satisfaction from that, you get good positive feedback, and obviously there's bumps along the way. You learn a lot about yourself, more than you would ever learn while working on someone else's dream. But the other part is, you realize that this is more natural. Working on
Well,
your dream is not. And then I'm not saying, like, don't, if you have if somebody has a dream that you want to share it with them and help them, and you may work for somebody, but it's a shared dream, that's different than going in and working to get paid. And again, there's going to be all these people, all the haters out there to say, well, Adam, I need to make money. I got to pay my rent.
Yeah,
I
and
got to
not
pay this.
everybody can be an entrepreneur,
Right.
and then a successful entrepreneur,
Sure. Sure.
because being an entrepreneur is full of stress and full of anxiety
Well, but if you let it be there, because that's
if you let it
false.
be there. All right.
Because the thing is that the key to all of it is, are you working on yourself and your dream? And you, like you said, if you're not a good entrepreneur, meaning you're not a business operator or a visionary, go find a group of people that are working on the same dream. And you can be an employee and work with them. And that's cool. That's fine. I feel like that's one of the biggest steps to overcoming Sunday Scaries is opting out of this industrial mechanized machine of worker bees and, the leaders
Right.
and the worker bees,
But then again, there are a lot of people who, because of their backgrounds or their experience, they have to work at Taco Bell. They
Yep.
have to work at Amazon or in a factory.
Sure.
Nothing else is available for them.
Sure.
So their Sunday Scary is very different than the Sunday Scary of a professional person who's
Definitely.
just going, oh, I got a RFP due, or oh, I got 5 sales calls this week,
Yes.
and I got to get 3 leads nailed down. Those two things are very different, but they're very real.
Yeah.
They're not unreal.
And I guess I'm trying to make the point is it's all the same sort. Anxiety is the same. It's just whatever is causing it. And you talk about poverty and being in, like, so everybody knows, so everybody knows, because a lot of people don't know this. My family, my parents were the first generation to sort of evolve out of poverty, so to speak. Now, I guess middle class would be the way my extended family is, but my grandfather was a janitor. My one grandfather was a janitor. My grandmother was a school secretary. And then on my other side, he was a prison guard, my other grandfather, and my grandmother was a bus driver. So, and lots of people in construction, a lot of factory workers, truck drivers, like these kind of things. So I live in an environment, my formative years around people that are in this realm of reality, right?
Yeah,
And
nearly everyone I grew up in poverty, item 1. 2, it was poverty because of circumstance. My dad was sick. My mom truly took in laundry and cleaned everybody else's house just to get money in. All his brothers were entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs. So, and he was too. It's just he got sick. So I do recognize poverty very well. I really understand it from a reality point of view and an empathy point of view, and a point of view that says pulling up by your bootstraps isn't possible when you aren't wearing boots and you're not even wearing shoes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the old saying of, like, don't give somebody a fish, teach them how to fish. But I think you got to do both.
Yeah, you got to do both.
If somebody's hungry, feed them a freaking fish. You know what I mean? Don't let them be hungry. Give them a fish. But they do need, but teach how to fish too, because it is a combination from a sustainability perspective. And and so we talk about this. So then what is anxiety?
I think, when I think about anxiety is rooted in your future. Depression is rooted in your past.
Right.
So if you are depressed, you're looking back at your life or the context of where you are and going, oh my God, either I'm sad that I'm not back there. Those were the good old days. And by the way, they're much gooder than they really were. They're gooder in your head than
Yeah.
they really were, because that's what humans do. They amplify something in their head that is not real. So they look back and go, "Oh, I'm so depressed because of where I am now based on my past or the context of the world that I'm living in."
Mhm.
Anxiety is a future driven thing.
Mhm.
It's all about what is going to happen and being nervous about that. And it's really interesting because happiness, now we're talking like, uh, psychological happiness, how to be happy, all the books that say how to be happy. A lot of happiness is embedded in future thought, meaning I can't wait to go on vacation. That's more fun than going on vacation. Or, I'm so excited about this thing coming up. So it's these are head games that everybody plays.
Mhm.
And the first step to really break it down is to recognize that you're playing a head game. And none of this is really real. In the past, like, people would come to me and it's like, "Oh my God, I'm having a terrible day." And I'm like, Next week, you won't even remember this terrible day. I guarantee you will not remember this deadline a week from now. You will not remember whatever it is that you didn't do or were late for or overspent. You won't remember it a week from now. And it's true.
Yeah.
This is all head games. And
Yeah.
you got to learn to control your thoughts and your consciousness to understand that that's the little guy inside of you who's trying to pull you down.
Well, and you're right. I mean, that's a great way of saying it. Depression is focusing on the past and the lack or gap there, and anxiety is focusing on the the unknown and the future,
Yeah, the
and
unknown.
and the possible ways it could go wrong, right?
Yes.
And it's funny because we're all as a species, and we're really good at this,
Oh, hell,
like
yes. It's like the
masterful.
river that has gone so deep in the with its gorge that, it is in our DNA,
And
literally.
again, if you think about that, when you say it's truly in our DNA, there's a lot of evidence showing that it actually really is.
Yes.
So, so if you think about, well, besides the physiology of the fact that whether you
Stress
believe we're,
going downhill changes
yeah,
your neurology. Yeah, besides that, I mean, a lot of us have known that for a long time. You don't have to zap a rat to figure that out in a lab.
well, it's like the old saying of, oh, I'll just expect the worst, and when something good happens, I'll be pleasantly surprised. And that anybody who says that doesn't understand law of attraction, right? Or consciousness,
Mhm.
because they would never say such a thing, right? Because they would realize two things. First, the reality is how you perceive it, right? So
Yes.
you're looking at the journey itself is that's what you should be enjoying, right? The journey itself. And that's not always easy, because trust me, I go in and out of that even myself. So you have to enjoy the journey, but then you need to let go and trust the future. And when you let go of the possibilities and you stop focusing on what's happening next and next and next, not saying that you shouldn't plan and execute a plan and that kind of thing, you kind of let go, and then good things happen. And if you change your perception of looking for the good in things, all you're doing is countering exactly what you're already doing. You're looking for the bad in things. So why
Right.
can't you look for the good in things,
Right.
right?
And it
Like, if
does.
you're if you're masterful looking at the bad in things, like, why can't you master looking at the good in things?
It's available to you if you change your mind to do that. It is a choice. Now, I am not saying, I am not in any way diminishing the reality of a lot of us, 90% of us, who are anxious about the future
Mhm.
with regard to climate change,
Mhm.
anxious about politics, anxious about where your next meal is coming from, and then the chemical changes in your brain that happen with that. I am not trying to diminish any of that. And by God, if you can take a Prozac and feel better, please do it. It's
Yeah,
actually pretty
we are not, you know, clinical advisors here, and
No,
we are not medical professionals.
no.
We're just
Um,
two individuals that are just going through their own realization with overcoming, you
yeah.
know, Sunday scaries and anxiety itself.
And you can't just go, okay, be happy. It's like
Yeah,
telling a comic to be funny. Okay, you're a comedian. Be funny. It's like
right.
that's not how it works. The the important thing is that I think mental health rather than mental unhealth. Mental health is a practice. You don't realize that you're practicing unhealthy things until you have the realization that you can practice healthy things too in your brain. It's all a practice.
Mhm.
And an orchestra needs to practice to sound good. It's not a natural gift. It is a practice to think about what can make you happy, overcoming what fears you have, and gaining confidence on your ability to manipulate your own head and attract things from the universe, which frankly will come to you.
Well, yeah, it's yes. So it's being aware of, like you said, of consciousness and thoughts create realities, and what reality do you want to create for your future self? So it's a real skill in art.
Yeah.
And some people have a talent, natural talent to, like anything, right? Some people are meant to play certain sports, and other people are meant to write the
Yes.
next scientific breakthrough, right?
Right.
Um, but I would say that everybody has this ability in them because we're here, right? We manifested this creation in ourselves, so then we should be able to create an outcome. It's like we forgot, right? Because of the veil of forgetfulness. So we've just forgotten in this sort of lack, because this lack is a catalyst, it's a feature of the show to get us to realize our infinite abundant selves, right? the,
Mhm.
the sad part is when people get trapped by the game itself and think
Right.
that is the end state, that is what the reality is, and it really is not. I'm just, you know,
They build their own
you almost have to
prison.
learn it yourself though to
Right. They
understand
build
it.
their own prison.
Yep.
I mean, when you're sitting there at work going, I'm just going to get in my car and drive
Mhm.
west and get out, you're building your own prison in that regards because you're not metaphorically or behaviorally doing that with your own body. You're trying to find freedom,
Mhm.
and you've got to put yourself in the mode of freedom to your very
Yeah.
the ends of your toes
Yeah.
to feel better. And I also think that the when you talk about manifesting, uh, let's just call our language a giant organism that is
Mhm.
living and breathing, and it is, and our language reflects.
So it's social, like the idea of the social memory complex,
Yes,
right?
social
Yeah.
memory. Our language is reflecting our culture. Oh my God, our culture is full of the word anxiety, full of the word depression, full of the words relating to mental health. It is pounding at people that they are or should be depressed or feeling anxious. I didn't grow up with those words. I
Mhm.
had to kind of become a psych major for a while, very short time. But but I had to become a psych major to see those words, to hear those words. But now they're so far in our culture that they have become, an on the daily occurrence where it's like work on yourself, self-help, you're broken, but wow, if you have to help yourself, you must be broken, which is a way to
This is the whole
translate
point of
that.
this, which is the whole point of this existence, is to rediscover yourself in many ways, right?
Right.
So, and in anxiety, you think about anxiety and you think about there's a lot of tricks that we've learned to get overcome them. And so let's just talk about some of those things. Like for an example, Fridays is when I like to set up my week ahead. So I don't have to think about it going into the weekend, right? I know
Okay.
some people will do it Sunday nights and start sending out the emails. And
Yeah.
whoever does that, if you do that, if you start sending emails out on a Sunday night, if you're a CEO or run a business or run a department, or you have people work for you, wait before you click that send button, because what it does is that is like perfect anxiety creator for your team, because now you pull them into the week and you're just thrust, and then their minds start moving. Oh, I got to cover this. Oh, tomorrow morning is my first thing. I got to do this. I got to do that. Oh my gosh, now he wants this. So if you are like, so these are habits, right? So like these
Right.
one of those habits, number one, that don't do is don't send emails out on Sunday nights.
Yes, and if you look at stats, actually, there's a lot of LinkedIn activity on Sunday nights. You wouldn't think so, but there is a lot of that kind of, call it catch up time, or call it, oh, gee, I really need to get back into the mode time.
Yeah.
But a lot of sales leads also for a certain company that we're working with right now, they come on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They come when someone has time to put their normal job running a company to the side and then focus on future action or things that are not in their daily.
Right.
Our culture has become, the American culture has become at least a 6-day a week job. At least that's not uncommon.
Right.
And Saturday is the only day you have off if you've got the Sunday Scaries, which is, I'm all in on a 4-day week. All in. Adam, I'm all in on a 4-day week. I think the entire country should have a 4-day week.
Well, I think, yes. I'm not. So the week for me is a definition for those that play a certain
You're
time frame.
changing
Like,
the
got to play a
subject.
certain time frame, right?
I want a 4-day work week.
I mean, I'm always thinking about this. You know this, Denise. The same with you, and I'm excited about it. And you shouldn't feel bad if you want to work on the weekend for something that you really love doing.
Right.
That's a really good place to be. Now, balance still matters. I mean, you should have other interests, and you should explore new things, new experiences. So you shouldn't just be married to your work, right? I mean, even if it's your who you are. I mean, what we
Yeah.
do in consciousness and market invention, I would not want to be doing it anything else. I love this stuff, but I'm also a lacrosse coach. I'm a dad. I love to fish. There's a lot of other interests I have, and that's cool. And you should got to make time for those other interests, whether it's on a traditional weekend or if it's throughout the week. But whatever that is, but that's up to you, right? So having
Right.
that flexibility, creating that flexibility for yourself.
I am personally wired to work.
Yeah.
I am wired to work. I do not know what to do if I am not working, frankly. It's a really tough thing for me to overcome. I feel at ease. I have mastery. I flow when I work. I like preparing for the week on the weekend just to catch up, to know that my week will be easy because I check some things off. I am wired to work, but even so, I really like my weekend. I want more weekend. It's a practice too, to be able to find what you like.
Yeah,
And a lot of people
it
don't
is.
know what they like. They
Yeah,
really don't.
yeah.
What is
I
your
taught,
purpose? I don't know.
and
What do you
that's
want to be
okay
when
if
you
you
grow
don't
up?
know.
I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I've asked a few people this. I had to, as you know, that I was collecting absolute ads when I was 9 years old. So I kind of always had an idea of generally what I was going to do. And I designed my education and everything around that. So I always looked at school as vocational, and things that weren't in the area that I was interested in, I wouldn't do well in. And people were like, well, you got to do well in these subjects. I'm like, I am not going to use these subjects. Well, how do you know that? Because I know what I'm going to do in my life. I already do. And I was lucky in that way. I just always had a pull towards what we're doing now. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to articulate it quite like it is. And that's the beauty of the universe surprising me, but it's still satisfying. And so when I talk to people that don't know, it's hard for me to understand that because I've always had a real strong sense. But I realized over the years, hey, if they're happy, I'm happy. It's okay. Like, as long as, I think the anxiety becomes a problem. Anxiety isn't always negative. I will say that to begin with, because anxiety can cause you to make a change.
Well, it means you care.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah, it means you care. If you're nervous in front of, if you're nervous prior to a pitch or something, it means you care.
Well, yeah.
So,
And I guess I'm trying to talk about maybe not nervous energy, like anxious. Even when I do a presentation today, there's still that excitement and anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I want to do it well. I want to deliver this message. I want to educate people,
right.
help people, that kind of thing. I hope they like it.
Like Demi Lovato, singers, actors, all sorts of people that do it all the time have pretty high anxiety prior.
But I guess what I'm going back to the Sunday Scaries, which is Sunday Scaries to me is a negative, right? Because Sunday Scaries is anxiety gone awry, where there isn't a fit for what you're doing the week ahead. And anybody who really who has Sunday Scaries should listen to themselves, because there's the inner child or a higher self saying to you, you're not aligned. This is not right. And you can keep going through this path, but you're going to be I look at it, I don't want to take it to the extreme, but let's go there. And your deathbed, when you're looking around, do you want to be ruled by Sunday Scaries, or the fact that you overcame all of it and pursued what you wanted to do? And again, there is money in this universe, so you do have to find ways to make money, in not in this universe, but in this reality here,
because they have a scary attack.
And I grew up in a family that was, you get a job, and that job pays you so you can go do what you want to do, and it's you got to do the stuff you don't want to do the stuff you do want to do, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. However, I would also like to offer a little slight variation to that, meaning when you're in flow and you're pursuing your dreams, it's effortless, but there's still effort in the word effortless.
Yeah.
Right. And there's still anxiety, but it's anxiety of like, man, I want this to be successful. What is it like? It's that, I gotta level up myself so I can achieve this, or I can do this, or I don't know what that looks like, or I don't have the answers. So you almost start to become very comfortable living in that space, because you're in this living in a consistently unknown, where you're going to destination where you want to be, but how you get there, that's where you got to surrender.
I was just going to say the word surrender. The word surrender is like, okay, we're not clinicians, but when we talked about flow before, flow is a state of surrender where everything just gets taken care of. Mm-hmm. And to get to flow, you have to surrender control. Now, are you surrendering control of your life, your career? You got to figure that out, because a lot of people really love and live off of and feed off of control. Well, what if you recognize that you don't control?
There is no control, right? Control doesn't exist,
Myth.
actually.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You don't control anything. And that is a really
Other than your thoughts
other
and
than
how
your
you perceive
thoughts,
things,
yeah,
right?
because we're talking out of two sides of our mouth.
Yeah.
Other than your thoughts, you don't control anything outside of your head. You
Mhm.
just don't. The sooner you realize that, the more freeing it is to just be in any situation that you have. If you are doing a job of monotony, if you are doing a job that you're just learning, or you're doing, I mean, if you get to flow and understand that you have a state of peace available to you, then everything kind of changes. It really, really, really does.
Well, in that letting go, in that control, I think that is where the heart of all the anxiety comes from, right? I
Right.
mean, because it's if I don't control this, or if my kids don't get into this, or it's funny, I see this in the DC area. Moving back here, I forgot how anxious everybody is down here. Like you can see it, and it's funny. I was at a regional championship girls volleyball high school volleyball game last night, and great game. Uh, you know,
I
both
miss those
sides.
days. I miss those
Yeah,
days.
but the parents, oh my gosh, they were so anxious for their children and for that win. And I've won, I've won all the games, state championships, all that stuff. First regionals don't matter if you win states, just so you
Yeah,
know.
I got a
Everybody
few
forgets
state
about that, right?
championships under
You
my
forget a
belt.
regional
Yeah.
championship really quickly when you win a state championship, right? Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you don't care about your regional championship when you lose the state championship if you won the regional championship either. So I guess the point of the anxiety of, oh, I got to get to work, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's all of these belief systems that we've built up in our minds over time, and like you said, we've caged ourselves into this very tight fit formed sort of viewpoint. And what that does is the minute something doesn't work exactly how that is,
Mhm.
you either go in depression or you go in anxiety because you're worried that more of things aren't going to work out for you. And I get better every day. It's a little bit less and less every day, but there's always a little bit in us, and that is because of our bodies, right?
Yeah.
These are things for survival instincts. This
Oh,
is what kept us alive when there's things that would eat
oh,
us, right?
for sure. If there's a threat, run away.
Well, yeah.
Run away. I mean, you still have to look at fight or flight and pick one
Well, I just
and
mean
then
even preparation,
execute
right?
to it. That's still there. Surrender isn't laying on the ground laissez-faire and like a blob, but the idea that you cannot control the world does not mean that you wouldn't try to fix the world.
Right. Well,
It's because we're trying to fix the world. We're
yeah,
not trying to control
which
the
you
world.
start with yourself, right? So
Got to.
so then we start talking about other ways to get over this anxiety, and I don't think you ever get over it. You just get used to it being there, and you just don't listen to it, right?
Yeah.
You learn to kind of be like, oh, that's your opinion. Mr. Anxiety,
Hello.
that's your opinion, but
Right.
you're usually wrong. So what am I going to listen to you for? I'm
Hello,
not,
anxiety, my old friend.
I mean, and the things that are really dangerous, like for anxiety is actually good for you. Like when you get in the car, you should be anxious to put your seatbelt on, okay, before you drive, right? For real safety reasons. Those reasons, I just mean that there's anxiety there. You still need to
Yeah.
drive the car. You need to get to where you're going to get to, so you shouldn't let it becoming overwhelming. But yeah, if it's raining outside and you're anxious about getting wet, well, bring an umbrella, right? Or bring boots, wear boots. Because, so I just mean that anxiety isn't this negative thing that we should all be shaming, I guess is my point. It's just that
Yeah,
we
we
need to
shouldn't have.
learn to
Right.
coexist with it and realize really for what it is. Can be a useful tool, but it's like the carpenter. If everything looks like a nail, you're going to keep bringing a hammer, right?
Right. There are
Or
other tools.
there are so many other tools, and anxiety can have a place, but where it does not matter is in most 99% of your life in this incarnation. Because where it did matter probably most of the time is when we were living in caves, or we
Yeah.
were,
Oh,
in
saber-toothed tiger. I should,
feudal,
I had
yeah,
lunch.
in
Yeah.
feudal Europe, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah, there's probably some real things to be anxious about.
Yes. Now, culturally, um, we still have issues. And the it's interesting because everybody's kind of got a therapist now, or a lot of people do. And that's okay. That's a very, very good thing. There is a scarcity associated with therapists because everybody wants one. But it's an interesting thing when to know before you walk into a therapist, you have to know yourself. You
Yeah.
have to pick a therapist that aligns with your values, or this will make your whole psyche worse. I've thought a lot about this, and it's like, okay, I'm a conservative person. I'm not, but let's say I'm a conservative person and I really need a therapist. So you kind of have to look for someone else who is a conservative person to understand how you're wired.
Well,
You
yeah.
can't go to a liberal. It's not going to connect.
Well, and let's go into masterminds, and because bringing back to business, right, with
Yeah.
CEO groups and
Yeah.
coaches, executive coaches, and such. Uh, you know, if you pick, how am I going to explain this? So, if you're in a group that has a lot of anxiety and you're trying to move away from anxiety, and you're trying to get good feedback that is not filled with anxiety, you got to be aware of the feedback you're getting from individuals. So what I mean is, if you're trying to overcome anxiety, you don't need to be in a peer group with other people that haven't already overcome it. It's like anything, right? When you're trying to learn something new, you go try to find somebody or information that's already done it before you,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Because
And
it's everywhere.
and I have not yet found a advisory peer group or a executive coach that doesn't have and doesn't project their own anxiety and their feedback on into you. And
I can see
that's
that.
a real issue, right?
It's a huge issue.
Because
But they're out
they're
there.
putting their limiting beliefs on you.
Yes, exactly right. Like back in the day, and there was a point when I did have to seek out a therapist. I was running a business. I had 3 little kids, like under 6. It was a really hard moment in my life. And the way I found the person is I found a clinical board certified therapist that was also an astrologer. It's like, okay, I can go to someone who has a belief system that is broad enough to include mine. Because if they include astrology, then it's a broad enough belief system where I'm not going to get some stupid ass advice that I'm just going to throw away or be challenged for what I believe.
Right.
So your point about coaching is absolutely, and mentoring is the same way. Coaches and mentors all put their own spin on stuff. I do my spin when I'm in a mentoring situation, and I consider a mentor not a one-on-one, like, oh, I'm formally seeing my mentor this month, which I think is really stupid.
I don't know if it's stupid, but I think there's a place for it. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's
It shouldn't be the
dumb. It's
basis
like,
of
how
your
are you
mentor.
doing today? Okay, what can I help you with? No,
No. I know what you mean.
yeah.
It shouldn't be the basis of your mentorship. Yeah.
Right. Unless they're like picking up the phone and getting you a job,
Yeah.
they're kind of worthless. Kind of like bored people.
Well, boards, by the way, boards are
Boards.
very rubber stamp boards in corporate boards are
They
they
cause a
are
lot of
literally
anxiety.
compliance. They're just a bunch of compliance, and that's all
Compliance. I
they
know a
are.
lot of CEOs that went crazy because they had to go meet their board,
Yeah.
and present stuff to their board.
Yeah. I actually don't
Wow.
believe in
Judgment.
these boards. Yeah. At least
Yeah.
how they're designed today.
Yes. But if someone wants to pay me to sit on a board, I'm happy to do that right now. But I have a very unique approach. And frankly, if you're a really kind of board that I don't want to sit on, don't call me. You have to find your group, your tribe, your people, your value set in order to have people help you out of a problem. And it really is helpful at work if everybody has the same value set, because you're coming to a place of comfort. You're coming to a place of helpfulness. You are coming to a place where, okay, I can go to this person and say, I'm having this fear or whatever, and they can find the right way to help me. That's really helpful. I mean,
Well,
I am all in on pluralism, and I'm all in on a lot of things. So I'm not very in the middle. But you think about pluralism, which is really the support of different cultures and ideology. It's the difference between the US as a melting pot and the US as a salad. Okay. I am all in on having different kinds of people. And different kinds of people are the facets on a diamond. If they were all the same, a diamond wouldn't sparkle.
And we've talked about diversity is universe is seeking diversity, right? So that's great.
But you still have to find your tribe.
Yeah. And I think
diversity, absolutely.
But and I think the difference here is what you're saying is the value sets is the basic sort of core values. Like
core values.
Love is a core value, right? I mean, so it doesn't matter what race, background, whatever you've come from. In fact, those are all good flavors of love. But you're saying is you got to find the tribe that still has those core values of certain beliefs. That's that ecosystem that we were talking about on our last show. So I think you're right. I mean, but when I look at anxiety, and we just talked about this, and I'm just thinking out loud here as we discuss things, is it really is anxiety is a crap sandwich of limiting beliefs. And it's multi-layered, right? Because so when as I'm trying to uncover, one of my realizations the other day was life is actually pretty easy. And I'm not going to say it's actually pretty easy. What makes it hard is the lens we look at it through. Right?
Yes.
I mean,
agreed.
You know what I mean? Like
agreed.
And when we can eliminate the anxiety, depression, beliefs, take that lens off of it and just be and be open and aware and love and all that good stuff. We love to flog ourselves through a process, even when it's going to work out perfect, better than we could ever plan, but we'll flog ourselves the whole way.
We're a jerk to ourselves.
But that's like that Puritan.
We're critical. Treat yourself as you would like to be treated, or as you treat others would be a
Yeah, right.
pretty good rule
Yeah,
to
yeah,
live
it's like the
on.
golden rule. Why don't you apply the golden rule on
Yeah.
yourself for once?
Yes,
Right?
yes, because we all beat ourselves up every frickin' day. Like,
Right.
oh, I mean, up to the point of, oh, I wanted to do a load of laundry today and I didn't get to it. So what? There's a lot of so whats that can be applied to work and business and all of that stuff. It's like, oh, I don't want to say I missed a deadline so much, but I had a typo. So what? Someone needs to fix it.
Well,
You know, it's like,
well,
okay,
and
don't
you
beat
think
yourself up.
about anxiety and the map of consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins,
Yes.
you know, a lot of that is in that fear level, right? The lower level. And it's funny, you end up getting to a point of love and abundance. You actually have to pass through apathy.
Uh-huh.
So
Agreed.
you gotta get to a point where you're like, I just don't give a crap. Like and that's not good to stay there. You want to care about things, but and be, excited and feel
Mhm.
good about it and have that pride, but you do pass through apathy, and every one of us has passed through apathy. You might, if you're listening to this right now, you might be in apathy right now, but at least you're not in fear.
Mhm.
At least you're not stuck in anxiety at the
Yeah.
very least, and you're moving up the ladder.
Yeah. My husband was a man of perfection. He everything about his he designed his life. He propped his life with things because he was a very creative person that uh, made sense. And he was borderline OCD, but he wasn't OCD. He would vacuum a lot. Let's just call it that. But the concept of perfection is really, really dangerous.
Yes, it is.
And you talked about how we built our children. Um, the concept of perfection, if you throw it on your children, can be very disruptive.
Yeah.
And so I was the one who was always pulling that back, um, purposefully or not purposefully,
Mhm.
because I'm into perfection too, to a point. But I'm okay with throwing shoes around. So I would make the mess. He would clean it up. But I was sort of doing some of that on purpose because kids today, uh, things like suicide is contagious. You
Right.
see it in groups. I work with a fantastic nonprofit here called Red Gen that looked at teen suicide because it was happening in all the upscale neighborhoods where all these kids were just like offing themselves because of the concept of perfection. I got to get in this school. I got to get this grade. I need to win state. All of that. Um, you got
Well,
to find you got it. You got to find
well,
that medium.
well, when you talk about perfection, I'll share a book in a second, but that is a great
Go that
book, a
book.
children's book about how to be perfect, if anybody's read it. But the whole how to be, I'll just jump in. The purpose of how to be perfect is, the story is a child gets a book. He's like, I want to be the best. I want to be perfect. So he gets a book and he's reading it. So it's a book within a book, like a Shakespeare play within a play, right? And it's how to be perfect. So he's reading, he goes to school and each chapter, it's like, this chapter, stop doing this chapter, stop doing this. Da, 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 da. So at the end, all he can do is basically sit there in his room in his chair in a perfect sitting, and that's how to be perfect, because it basically can't live. And here's the other part: is the universe is perfect. You're perfect, right? Already. So every mistake you
Imperfection is
make,
perfection.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what I mean. So even the imperfections are perfection.
Yes. Perfection is cultural. If you strip, and almost every episode at least I talk about it, the things that we're talking about with regards to vibration are stripping away everything that is cultural, everything that was taught by someone, everything that makes your value system something of a judgment. Strip it all away, all you got left is vibration. That's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of vibration doesn't matter, and you are perfect just the way you are, because if you're vibing high, you don't have to vacuum. It's like it is the thing, the one thing that will help more people, help more businesses than anything.
So if anxiety is, and Sunday Scaries is just a manifestation of anxiety and all of that crap sandwich we talked about, limiting beliefs, right? So then if we think about that, how do you overcome these limiting beliefs? I'll share my thoughts on that, but
Go ahead.
love to hear you.
I'm
Okay.
thirsty.
Have a water break. So what I've learned about limiting beliefs is, first off, you're not going to be able to overcome them in the traditional brute force way, because they are, I mean, there's certain behaviors, but even behaviors are manifestations of these subconscious limiting beliefs. And in the subconscious mind, these limiting beliefs exist, and you may not see these. They manifest based on manifest in ways like a reaction to something.
Yes,
so when you react positive or negative to anything, there's a limiting belief in your subconscious mind that is driving that reaction, right? Because it's like it's a reaction. So your thoughts create an action, right?
Right. Behavioral economics is a relatively new subset of marketing that is all based on manipulation of the subconscious wiring that you have, that you don't even know you have. That context is what we use in marketing. Those limiting beliefs turn into heuristics, which can be manipulated, which people might, like me, do. And just trying to do it for good and not for bad. But I interrupted you, so go on.
No, I think that's a great point. I mean, so when it's like, if you can't see them and you don't know you have them, then how do you identify them? And you identify them. The way I've learned is, when you have a reaction and you're like, that's just not my higher self. Like, where did that come from? Then you talked about this in previous episodes, Denise, asking the whys and going like in an onion, and just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And jokingly aside, it's usually comes down to parenting. So, and it's like, well, my parents did this. This is why I don't think I'm perfect in this world and I'll never amount to anything. You know what I mean? So, or they empowered you and you feel like you can conquer the world because they put those beliefs in your brain subconsciously. And it starts when you're, in the womb, right? Scientists are figuring out, right? So, and it's even further because, right, it's DNA based too. Some of these beliefs, especially when you talk like poverty. Poverty is a multi-generational thing, right? And so all beliefs are multi-generational, right? And some of them are created also from our own experiences, but it's a mix of that. So then when you start unpacking it and you realize, like money as an example, a lot of people have lots of limiting beliefs around money, right? Money.
I do. Money gives me PTSD.
What, right. And why does it, right? And why? And it will always be an adversary of yours until you overcome that PTSD. And so what I've learned, and share this with all of you, is once you find one, and you can't solve all of them at once. It's almost like you got to take one at a time, right? You got to take one at a time. And so if it's something, money, you're like, oh, there's some limiting beliefs about money. when somebody has it, I feel like they did something to get, like when someone wins the lotto, I'm not happy for them. I'm like, think they stole it or I should have gotten it or something else. Well, that's a limiting belief behind that somehow, right? About money, or there's a scarcity belief about money or
Yeah.
what have you.
Or
And
you
it,
were told when you were small, like 100 times that, a rich man won't get into heaven because of a camel and a needle. And it's like, I don't even remember it. But
right,
point being, don't trust a priest with 2 suits.
right.
Point being, give all you have, which I do. And my mother did. She would give her last dime to someone. And that helped me be generous, but it also kind of screwed up my head about money.
But
I don't know how to deal with it.
and there's a good book about Happy Money by, I think, Ken Honda, and it talks about the Japanese principles around money and how you say thank you and gratitude for even the bills that you pay, right? And giving away money to, first, it's a good thing to do to help somebody when they need help, but the real reason why it's, even from a universe perspective, why, from a frequency, why it's important, depends on your intent and what intent you're putting out there. But it really matters because like, by giving it away freely and be like, I know more money is going to flow into my life. I don't have a scarcity. I know more is going to come in, so I can give as much out. And so that's good, but it's also bad from the fact that you'll never hold on to any money because you think that there's rooted in evil, right? Somehow, right? So then how do you overcome that? Well, it's subconscious reprogramming is what I've learned. And what are some examples of that? A gentleman, some of the best on there on YouTube, and we're gonna hopefully get Brian Scott on the show here coming up. He does a lot of really good ones. So if you're on a YouTube, go look him up. It's the Reality Revolution. And you can do it yourself. So you can use Brian Scott to do this, or you can create your own. And really what it is repeating a phrase over and over and over and over again, and meditating on that phrase to the point where it starts to replace and rewire your subconscious. So as an example, if you believe money doesn't grow on trees, that old limiting belief, because money does obviously grow on trees, they're made of trees. So and by the way, the federal government doesn't have a problem printing it to oblivion. By the way, they're just put on the printing press all the time.
That's another show.
Yeah, there's another show, but I just mean, it's your mind that's keeping you away from the money. It's not the fact that, the fact that you think it's limited. It's the fact that you think it's limited is what makes it limited in your experience. And
the
so
US government thinks money is unlimited and in abundance. So that's,
well, hey, I'm hoping the economics show that too, because then it's awesome. Like, guys, let's just, then there's no need for taxes anymore. There's no need for a lot of stuff, right? Who needs banks? Who needs any of that? So I guess the point is, so when you think about it, is you can say it in your own voice, and there's tons of scripts out there. Write down a script that's like, I am abundant. Money flows to me continuously in large sums. I never run out of money. These kind of things. Money grows on trees, and I have all the money trees in my backyard. Like there you got to, and it's again and again and again. And if you sit and meditate on that, listen to it on your phone, put your earbuds on or whatever, and sit and meditate on that for 30 minutes a day. And you do that. If you want to really be diehard on it, you do that in the morning when you first wake up, and then right before you go to sleep in your bed. So it's the last thing you hear. You do that for 4 weeks, you will not have that limiting belief anymore. It won't.
What we're going to do for our end meditation, I'm going to make it about money. I'll show.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be money. It's just an example.
Yes, I will use that as an example.
But weight example, like your weight and your health is another one. Or you could even say, I only think positive thoughts. Those are other ones that you can do, right? So everything, if you're worried that things aren't going to work out for you, there's a great meditation of everything is working out to my advantage. The universe
Mhm.
is doing something positive for me now, right? And
Right.
and so that's,
Yeah.
and once you get done with that, you feel like $1,000,000. But that, I guess that's the point. These type of meditations and subconscious reprogramming is probably the fastest way, other than doing it with somebody that's PTSD, like with these other MDMA, these other psychotropic drugs now that people are actually experimenting with, that are amazingly just rewiring the mind on top of these sort of meditative tactics.
Mhm.
It's quite remarkable. I mean, many people, I think most people wouldn't need therapists if they understood this stuff.
I kind of agree, and I wish they sold that stuff at Walgreens
Yeah,
so I could go get some. And why not?
right.
Why not sell it at Walgreens? Why not?
Well, because of the taboo of the physical reality and the control that they want to make, they meaning,
They
I'd say the social construct, because I don't think there's, unlike certain people where you think that there's this overlord group that just wants to crush all of us. I think most people are just trying to do the best they can and try to be as helpful with the knowledge that they have. I think most people have positive intent, even if they
yeah.
don't understand what they're saying.
I think most people, but I would argue that
Mhm.
uh, they are very, 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 very wealthy people who continue to make decisions
Yes.
based on their own wealth, based on service. And we go back to last week, service to self or
Yes.
service to others. It's two kinds of people in this world. And I mentioned that this weekend to my sister-in-law, who is like 80, she's 79 years old. And I
Mm.
said that, and immediately, she didn't skip a beat. She said, "Oh, you mean people like me and assholes?" And it was delivered perfectly. She has the delivery of a comic. But yes, it kind of means people like you are assholes. So you have service to self and you have service to others. If you're serving yourself and you're crazy rich and you're manipulating commerce,
Mhm.
well, that's the they.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
they.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Because they're going to
that's a
make
great way of
money.
explaining it.
They're going to make money on the backs of whomever they can make money on.
Yes.
Because that's the equation that they live by. It's like, how can I make more money? So watch Dope Sick on Netflix. Michael Keaton. Uh, it's really good about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Uh, so I just, you think about the reprogramming. What other things can people do to overcome Sunday scaries? And another example,
Oh,
obviously, we talked about getting the work, try to get as much off your plate that Friday so you don't have things looming. Set up
mhm.
the next week, the following week on your Friday. It's what I try to do, and it frees up your weekends. But again, it's like, listen to yourself. If you're feeling sick going into the work week, and you got to
Isolate
ask your
why.
you got to get peel back that onion and ask yourself why. And then this is the part that stops most people. Effortless still takes effort. You're going to have to change something. Either it's a belief system or a perception that you might have. It probably is. That's always part of it.
A truth.
A truth. And you're gonna have to get risky, risky.
Exactly.
Like, bet on
And
yourself for once. How
yeah,
about that?
cognitive dissonance is a bitch. It
Mhm.
really is. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about cognitive dissonance and the realization that something that you believed as a truth is actually wrong or untrue, or the concept of change, self-change, is truly ungrounding. But that's kind of the freedom in it. That's kind of the freedom to do whatever you want to do. And you will find, I kind of think, that freedom will attract something that aligns with what you want to do.
It will, and then it will really become effortless, right? Like, I mean, still effort, but you're gonna feel it, and then you're gonna look forward to Mondays. It's gonna just be part of who you are. The work week becomes part of your mission and your personal level, not something to work for the weekend, right? I mean, culturally, this is us shifting from the old industrial age of, the caves, that kind of servitude.
6-year-olds working 6 days a week.
This is an old industrial, just like our education system. It's old, right? And
yes, absolutely. They don't do this in other countries that are as productive as we are.
And I understand not everybody has access to all the resources that, say, you and I have now, but I can guarantee that you and I have both built this access to these resources, right? I mean, meaning
nobody gave it to me.
Right. I mean, I have definitely had some benefit and grew up in a household that never had a lack of just about anything. And that's because my parents was one of the things they wanted. They were divorcing themselves from this old anxiety lack like behavior, right? And they took the chance. Their siblings did not, and they are still in this sort of stuck sort of cycle. And and you can see it clear as day. Just as smart from the same families. It's just one group of kids decided that they were going to change their belief systems and go for it versus the other kids. Same families.
There's a quote, and I read it the other day, and I forgot who did it, but it's a fabulous quote. And I will look it up, maybe for next time, or put it in the notes. But it is, it was, I think it was Deming who did this. Deming is the father of quality and statistical quality, meaning most people don't know that the definition of quality is not this is good or better than something, but it's really a lack of variance. It's consistency. That's what quality is. It's a lack of variance. So I think it was Deming who said this, and it was I'm paraphrasing, the risky person, the risky CEO makes 2 major mistakes in a year. The conservative CEO makes 2 major mistakes in a year. You're going to make the mistakes anyway. You're going to have 2 mistakes in a year regardless. But the risk reward value prop is a way better one than the security value prop, I think.
Well, and anybody who's anxious listening to us in their anxiety, I'm about ready to make them more anxious.
Right.
Robots are, if you think your 9-to-5 job is safe because you're doing something nobody else can, you are sorely mistaken. You
will be replaced.
People are replaceable, and robots are replacing faster than anybody can realize. AI and robots, but that is good. A lot of people don't realize it. Is the fact that, if you work in a factory or work in a repeatable job that a robot or a computer or an AI can do, it will take your job in the next probably 20 years, right? You just won't.
20, like 5.
Well, I'm being conservative. I'm saying like all industries are sort of saturated by here, but you're right. It's probably much faster than anybody realizes. It could be five years, right? I mean, it's happening very rapidly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, because you know what? It's freeing you up to to be your highest, biggest,
Yeah.
most potential self, period. And anxiety, maybe a better way of saying anxiety, is your higher self telling you that you're not living up to your potential, and that you have bigger, better things you can do for yourself, and you're stuck in this emotional quagmire
Right.
that are just dreading something that you're probably, if you're feeling this, you're probably bigger than that. You have more potential than that thing. But
Right. One of the heuristics in behavioral economics or psychology or marketing in general is people don't want something taken away from them.
yeah,
Even if the equation is identical, where if you stay, I will give you this, versus if you stay, I won't take this away. That has statistical ROI. Like, people do not want to have something taken away, even if there's no risk to that. Nobody's going to take away your money. The taxes try to take away more money from the people who have more, not you.
well,
So that's a really, really tough thing to overcome, is that you want to hold on to everything you have, even though everything you have is like, what? Nothing?
well, and everything you have, you're not like a piece of art, a watch, a well-made piece of furniture. Um, you're just a house. Even when you own a house, you don't really own it. You know why? Because
No.
you're just a steward of it. You're going to die
Mhm.
someday, and you're not going to own that house anymore. Whether you give it to one of your, one of your children or a friend or family, whatever. But still, it's temporary. It's all temporary. And so we are all naked, is what we're saying, right? We are literally all naked, and this anxiety that is created is is just a total lie.
Mhm.
That's just a lie. So
Yes.
it's quite interesting, and and talking, bringing it back to business. Anxiety, for those who are starting their career and are anxious about, and I'm not talking about like positive anxious, like I'm excited, but not like dread. Like we're talking about Sunday Scaries. Executives have this. Most executives have the same Sunday Scaries. This is
Yes,
why they
your
send
boss
emails out
does.
on. This is why they send emails out on Sunday, and they do all this stuff, because they're not quite as much like you, Denise, but a lot of them are like, I got so much work to do. If I don't do this, I gotta get it. I get fired. If I get fired, I don't have like my kids can't go to private school. I can't do this. I can't do this. I gotta go. I can't. I'll be a
Yeah, that's the
failure.
why thing, and the
Yeah.
why thing ladders up to, I want all my stuff
I just
sometimes, and
yeah.
it's like, "Oh, really? Maybe your why is wrong."
Well, it's just a point of this Sunday Scaries is not just for junior level people in the
No,
workforce, right? Or
no,
lower in the workforce employees, right? It is
no.
all levels of the hierarchy, corporate hierarchy. And the worst part is, when you talk about fear of loss, most executives that I know are two things. They're running scared,
Mhm,
and they have the golden handcuffs. They are afraid to
mhm,
lose what they have, and
mhm,
that's part of why they're running scared.
mhm.
And it's sad. And the worst part is, like you said it in culture last week, the head of the fish rots first. So they're really causing this scared, fear-based
Right.
anxiety throughout the whole organization, because like, if you don't get this, I got to get a report. And if I don't do that report, like, somebody's going to fire me, or I'm going to get fired. And you've got to give me the data for the report. Then that means you got to work over the weekend. Da, 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 da. You know, what I've learned is as long as you're accountable most of the time, and yeah, if you got these reports you got to do, there's certain things you got to get done on time and certain compliance things. I get all that, but there's a way to quickly move through that without anxiety. It's like brushing your teeth, but most people are so afraid of losing what they have that they miss out on the opportunities that they could have, right?
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
and that's a lot of Sunday scaries. And so we're got about 10 minutes left. Denise, before we jump into a meditation, Denise is going to lead us through one of these sort of guided sessions today. I'm excited. Like, what kind of advice do you have for somebody trying to just get started overcoming the Sunday scaries?
Well, other than Prozac, which is a really good drug, part of it,
The non-paranoid cannabis is good too, by the way, but not the
right,
non-paranoid
right.
kind.
There are things that you can do that are outside of like your brain,
Sure.
but affect your brain. So beyond that, it's sometimes, and I know this is contrary to the things we talk about, but sometimes you got to say the worst case scenario is X. And that's not so bad.
Yeah, you got to go all the way to the dark side, right? And realize that's really probably not going to happen.
This and okay, I accept that. It's not so bad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of something like the worst case scenario is I've got to go tell someone I didn't get it done.
Yeah.
That's the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is that person that I didn't get it done is making somebody else work later and someone else work later. Okay, that's cool. But then maybe if you think about that, maybe you'll get it done and feel relief. You know, the frog, lots of metaphors here. I was at one of those conferences and General Schwarzkopf was one of the speakers. And I will never forget, the frog doesn't taste any better if you eat it in the afternoon or some such.
Right.
Eat the frog right away. Yeah. That's what I would say. Eat the frog right away and make it part of the structure of how you conduct yourself, because humans like structure. That's why it's a Sunday and not a Monday scary or a Tuesday scary, or, you know, they like to have structure in their head. Make the first thing you do on Monday, eat the frog. That helps too.
That is great. Eat the frog on Monday. Or, I mean, first thing, any day. That's great advice. So get to the stuff, the hard stuff first, the stuff that you're dreading first. Do that, get that off the plate right away, right?
And you know what? You do it enough times, whatever scared you about that suddenly goes away.
It does, right?
It goes away.
Yeah, and you know, to add to that, if you're starting this journey of trying to address your Sunday scaries or anxiety, you know, besides peeling the onion back and asking yourself why you're feeling this way, just make a decision. You know, make a decision that you're not going to have them anymore. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have them anymore, but the decision that you're going to overcome them and start looking for answers or asking for help, right? I think you can ask the universe for help. You can ask friends for help. If you ask the universe for help, we're talking about consciousness, God, the universe, whatever you want to call this stuff, friends will show up on your doorstep. People, you know, opportunities will pop up. Maybe a new job that gets you super excited comes into your perspective. Again, what you think about is what you attract into your life, your experience. So change your thoughts, like, and just be aware to begin with. Just be like, why am I having Sunday scaries? I don't want these. Like, why? And you're like, well, because of this, because of this. Okay, what do I not like about those things? Well, I like doing the job. I just don't like who I'm doing it with, right? That could be. Or I like the people I'm with. I just don't like what I'm doing. Okay, well, maybe you want to stay with the same people and try to ask to do something else. What do you like doing? What can you be good at? What can
Yeah.
you, so these are the questions. And so I guess the point is some people need, external help on that, such as professional help like therapists to walk through, or professional executive coaches.
All good.
It is,
All good.
yeah, exactly. It's all good. There's
All good.
nothing wrong with that. Other people have the ability to work it out themselves with their own shadow work. It's a combination either way. I think everybody needs a little bit of everything. So, and especially when you're in the dark, sometimes you need someone to dig down there and give you a hand out,
Mhm.
meaning to pull you out of it and be like, smack you. This isn't real. You're all in your head. My
Yeah.
wife, Susan, has done that to me so many times, and I'm so grateful for it. She's just like, stop it. That's not going to happen. So stop it. You're like, you're right. You're right. So even me, who is generally a very positive person, and I have a talent for that, I can go to the dark side like the rest of them. So I just know that everybody who's listening to this with your Sunday scaries, first, it's very common. It's got a name. It's that common. It's got a pop culture name. It's so common. And Denise and I are always continuously overcoming it. It never fully disappears, but it certainly, you get stronger and you become stronger than it. And then it's there, but you're like, time out. Hang out in the corner over there. You're there. I see you, but you need to be there. So let's jump into it. We'll get into final thoughts after our meditation. But Denise, why don't you lead us through a wonderful
Okay.
meditation?
I will do it. Everyone, please close your eyes. And sometimes it's actually helpful to put your hands in front of your eyes because it gets even darker. I want you to close your eyes and imagine light, white light all around you. It is the light of protection. You are protected from anything bad and anything negative. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Now think about the crown of your head and open it up to the sky. White light going to the sky. Breathe, breathe, breathe. We talked about money, and here is how the request for money is delivered in your state of high functioning consciousness, which is what you're in now. Keep your white light happening. Keep your crown open and say in your head, I allow money to flow to me on its own. That's all you have to say. I allow money to flow to me on its own. You're not forcing money. You're not begging for money. You're allowing money to flow to you on its own. Now hold that thought. And if there's anything else that you want, I allow a new job to flow to me on its own. You can replace money for just about anything. I allow health to flow to me on its own. Healthy living, healthy lifestyle, a new person that you love, just the idea of love. I allow love to flow to me on its own. You can open your eyes now.
Excellent. Thank you, Denise. And now, when you have everyone who's listening who just went through that guided meditation quickly with us, just know that if there's any action or anything inspired that hits you, go for it. Just follow it. Follow it without any fears or anxiety, and just see what unfolds in your experience. Right? Right, Denise? I mean, I think people will really be amazed in what happens.
Ask the universe and look for the answers. The signs will be there.
And that's Absolutely. That's a great little meditation of sort of protection and getting the download, so to speak, and coming from a place of power versus forcing it, right? Doing is force. Don't focus on the effort, focus on the effortless, so to speak, as we say.
Yeah.
And
I'm selling the car twice now again, Adam.
Was that?
You're selling the car twice now.
Yeah, right. I know. But I just mean, it's just so important. It's just so important, Denise. I don't know how else to explain it. So, but breathing is part of this. So if you feel yourself getting anxious about something on a Sunday night in Sunday Scaries, just even do the deep breath of the breathe in for, say, 6 seconds, hold it for 3 to 6 seconds, and breathe out for 6 seconds. And you do that 3 or 4 times, you'll forget about your anxiety. And if you don't, keep doing it. You'll get out of it. So, Denise, any last thoughts?
Nope. Just ask the universe and let the universe come back at you. That's it.
Perfect. Thanks, Denise. Everyone, this was awesome. I really appreciate it, Denise. This was a great discussion. I hope everyone enjoyed our discussion around Sunday Scaries and getting over that sort of workplace anxiety. If everybody has their own, this is a personal experience. Everybody has their own experience in consciousness and their own passions and goals. So just dare to dream, dare to achieve that dream, and work on those self-limiting beliefs so that we can go in with an open heart and positively achieve what we want to in this lifetime. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful last week, and we'll see you at next episode. Take care.
Bye.